So today we want to look at operations management and decision making in an organization. And my name is Michael Obuleye. As you know, if you're just joining us today for the first time, I am the CEO of Academic Virtual Lab, and I'd like you to subscribe to our YouTube channel if you have not done so before, and then click on notification button so as to be able to see our new videos when it is uploaded. And also, do not forget to like this video if you actually like it. So let's go. So we want to see today, these are the lesson outlines. We want to see the concept of operations research. We want to look at the rationale for operations research in industry, decision-making, problem-solving, and model development. The concept of operations research, which this is designed apparently to provide students with a working knowledge of quantitative techniques for economic and management decision-making. You want to make decisions on behalf of your organization. You must be factual. You must be sure. You cannot gamble. You cannot gamble decision, because when it has to do with huge amount of money, you have to take a decision that will be optimal for them. How do you then get equipped to be able to take decisions that will equip you with economic value for your organization? Hence, operations research. The techniques are there in quantitative techniques, in operations research, to be able to do this. And some of the time in literature, you will find operations research being referred to as management science. Some of the time, it is referred to as quantitative techniques and decision making. All of these words are the phrases that could be used interchangeably in literature. So what is operations research? This is concerned with optimal decision making, modeling of systems, both deterministic and probabilistic, that originates from real life situation. You want to model the real life situation. You need to be able to see it on your desk. You need to be able to see it in your computer to postulate and say, oh, fine, if you take this action, this is likely to be the consequence we're going to have at the end of the day. But then you want to take a decision that will be optimal. You want to take a decision that will benefit your organization. So that is why operational research is well placed. So it is the application of methods of science to complex problems, yes. Using mathematical science to solve real problems. And this is also arising in the direction of management of large systems of men, because we have a number of people that are involved, where you have a large number of personnel that are involved, who is going to do what and when, for how long, the time they're going to allot. You want to allot time for each one of them to be able to carry out a particular task. And then which machine is going to be involved. You have machines, several machines, who is going to work on which machine. And at the same time, what are the materials that will be used at different levels, at different intervals? What are the materials that will be involved? At the same time, funds is also important. Money is also involved. And you don't want to take this decision without being factual. You don't want to take this decision without being sure. Because at the end of the day, whatever decision you take, there will be consequence for it. Either it's going to be positive or negative. But then for your organization, you want to make profit, because that's the essence of starting up a business. That's the essence of an entrepreneur coming into business. You want to maximize profits and you want to minimize your costs. And that is why this is the place where quantitative techniques, operations research, is well situated. So government also, in government agencies, in financial institutions, hospitals, they want to also take decisions, and they're beginning to, to apply the knowledge, the technique of operations research, especially in planning and budgeting, and investment. They have to do that in planning and budgeting, as well as in investment of what they have to do in the organization. Now, what is the rationale? We use operations research when the situation is complex, when you're not sure, when the situation is multifaceted, in a big and complex environment, when many factors has to interact, when many factors must interact, with one another in complicated modes. So that is when you need the operations research. For example, consider a factory production schedule, which has to take into account the following. Number one, they have to take into account the customer demand. What are the demands of the customer? They need to know. And then what is the requirement of raw materials? What kind of raw materials do we need? What is the volume? What is the quantum of raw materials we need at a point in time to get a given number of units of products out at a given point in time? Then equipment capacity. You already know the capacity of your equipment. You need to know. You have to be, to be equipped with the capacity of your equipment. And then you have to determine Can you have full capacity of your equipment at any point, at any given point in time without any interruption? All of this has to be put in place. These are the things you have to consider. Then you have to also think about equipment failure, because equipment are not there to work for life. There's a likelihood, that's what we call mean time before failure. Then even before the mean time before failure, you never can tell anything that may happen at any point in time in production. So all of these things has to be, factored in as you are working on making your organization to be in the forefront of competition. Now, restrictions on manufacturing processes, you need to know all of this. You have to be equipped with all of this. And then in an environment, again, where you use operations research, when in a big firm, responsibility and authority of decision-making is scattered throughout the organization, because there are people that you have delegated, operations managers, you have delegated them to be responsible for what comes out in the production, what they produce at a given point in time. Much more than that, people in account section also has their own jurisdiction. They have authorities that have been delegated to them, when to issue out money, when to restock also materials, and all of that. Now, if you're not conscious of these, the goals may be distorted. The goal of the organization may be distorted. The organization may not achieve their goal. So there's a need some of the time, to bring in what we refer to as a mathematical quantification to overcome complex situations of this nature. At the same time, uncertainty may be one of the reasons, or not maybe, uncertainty actually is one of the reasons to use operations research. And this is a great uncertainty. There's a great uncertainty about economic and general environment, because you don't know the movements of markets. You cannot predict movement of markets by just intuition. You cannot predict movements of market by just guesses. You have to be equipped with technical tools. You have to be equipped with fundamental tools. Just like when you want to do maybe forex trading, for example, or you want to do cryptocurrency trading, digital marketing and all of that. You have to be equipped with some of these fundamental tools, technical tools, to be able to take decisions at any given point in time, to know when to move. Maybe when it's bearish, to know when to buy, or when it's when the demand is also high, to know when to sell, and things like that. So this makes each decision costlier and time consuming when you do not take the right step in the right direction. It can be too expensive for your organization, and you don't want to do that. You don't want to be fired. So another one is knowledge explosion. Knowledge is fast increasing, especially during the advent of this fourth industrial revolution, the artificial intelligence, robotics, big data. It is important for you to use tools that would make your organization to be in the forefront. Many organizations are not up to date with latest knowledge and technology, and therefore that's a disadvantage to them. Teams have to collect latest information for analysis purposes, which is quite useful for the organization. And at the same time, by the time you gather your data, how do you do the analysis? It is a method of operations research, quantitative techniques that can assist you to do sensitivity analysis, that can assist you to forecast and to look at trends of events. Now, decision-making. Decision-making in an organization is key and has the following elements. Number one is objectives. What are the objectives that you have set in an organization? What are your goals? And then you must have alternatives. Alternatives must be in place. And then there must be some constraints, influencing factors of this decision. Now, areas of applications of operations research. Number one, allocation and distribution of resources, optimal allocation of limited resources, like I've said, including men, manpower, machines, materials, time, money, all of that must be optimum. The location and size of warehouse also has to be decided, and a lot of that. And I think I have a video on this in our, that I've discussed this extensively also in our, in this, I have a video which we will see the link in this video for the next video that would expatiate more on this aspect. No, another one is procurement. What, how, and when to purchase at the minimum procurement cost. When do we purchase? Do we purchase during the rainy season so that we can stock a number of some of these materials and use them by the time the rainy season, the dry season is here? Another one is production and facility planning. A number of things you have to select your location and design the design of products, plans, and all of that. And then you want to schedule your projects. And then you want to allocate resources. All of this has to be put into consideration. And then maintenance policies. Very, very important. Very, very important. And then the last one here on this bullet is scheduling and sequencing of production runs by proper allocation of machines. There is a separate video also on scheduling and sequencing, looking at some of the technicalities, some of the techniques of scheduling and sequencing. We have a separate video about 15 minutes also, which will also can also deal with that. Now, other areas of application of operations research, we have marketing, production selection, timing, and competitive action. You have your competitors, you have to be ahead of them. You need to know how do you market. Digital marketing is what people do now. It's very important. Then you have to continue to carry out research and development on your product to be able to improve on them, getting feedbacks from you have to be getting feedback from customers to be able to know what you're not doing well, to be able to know what you're doing well, and then that you want to improve on, and then to be able to do what they want you to add to what you have, the products you are producing, and to continue to run with you. R&D is very important. You have to determine areas of research and development, and then selection of projects for your budgets. The other aspect is finance. There is nothing you can do, any organization can do, any individual can do without finance. So finance is key. Capital is very, very key. And then your cash flow, you have to be able to state your cash flow, see your cash flow, so as to be able to know whether you are making profits or you are making losses for your organization. The other one here is personnel. We're talking about the areas of application of operations research, selection of personnel, determination of the same, of the same, their retirements and their skills and all of that. Now, problem solving. Let's quickly look at problem solving and decision making. Problem solving defined. This is the process of identifying a difference between some actual and the desired state of affairs, and then taking action to resolve the difference. If you look at this, there are three keywords here: actual and state of affairs. Some actual and some desired state of affairs and action. These are the three keywords. But then, if you look at the steps of problem solving, we have 7 of them. Number 1, identify and define the problem. You need to know what is the problem we are battling with. What is the problem we want to resolve in an organization? What is the problem we want to really address? Number 2 is to determine the set of alternatives in that order. Okay, you have alternative A, B, C. What do we want to do? Which one will be better for us for this decision? Which one will be better for us for the thing we want to do? Then you have to determine the criteria or criterion that will be used to evaluate the alternatives. You have to put them on ground. At the same time, the 4th stage of problem solving is to evaluate the alternatives. You need to be able to eliminate the alternatives one by one. I say, for this reason, I won't take this alternative. For this reason, we'll eliminate this alternative. For this, now we go with these alternatives. You need to be able to evaluate these alternatives. And then you have to be able to choose. You need to be able to choose an alternative that will be profitable, that will be optimal, that will bring profits to you. So when you have done the first 5, what we are saying here is that a decision is made. You have made a decision when you have done the first 5 here. Now, when you now had items 6 and 7, you have just done what we refer to as a problem solving. You have solved a complete problem. Problem is half solved when you have taken a decision, because you have not implemented the selected of alternative, and you have not assessed the steps you have taken. You have not assessed your decision. So the assessment is the evaluation of the result, which is taking place in item 7. So when you have implemented the selected alternatives, and then you have evaluated the results, then that means you have taken this is the problem solving approach. What I'm saying in essence is items 1 to 7 represents what we refer to as the problem solving approach. But rather items 1 to 5 represent decision making. Decision making alone is not enough. You need to be able to say, the decision that I've taken, I need to be able to say, to implement that decision. After the implementation, what comes after? You are waiting for the unknown. You are waiting for whether it's going to be positive or it's going to be negative in terms of the result. Unfortunately, if the result is positive, you have done well. That means your decision, you have taken a right decision in the right step and in the right direction. So this is a pictorial representation of what I have just described. You know, when you have structured a problem here, when you have only defined the problem, and you have identified the alternatives, and you have determined the criteria, you have only structured the problem. But you have analyzed the problem. You have analyzed the problem when you have evaluated the alternatives, and you have chosen an alternatives. You know, you have chosen the alternative. Then when you structure the problem also, and you meddle it with analyze the analysis of the same, that means you have done what we refer to as problem solving. You have achieved problem solving. And in analyzing the problem, there are key things that are involved. Quantitative analysis are involved, both qualitative and quantitative. I'm going to talk more about this as we go on. Both quantitative and qualitative. Quantitative has to do with data. Qualitative has to do with some also data as well. But then it's more of, you know, gathering information from key informants. For example, if you are considering gathering information in an organization, you know, you go to key informants that can give you key information you need about the particular organization. You know, but in an environment where you want to use quantitative analysis, you want to take input from different people to, you know, in that organization, maybe you want all the staff also to participate, and then you can get a questionnaire to get that done. So when you have done all of these two, that is summary and evaluation. And all of these together is what's referred to as the, you know, decision making. So like I've said, qualitative analysis is based primarily on managers, executives' judgment and past experience. You know, you are talking to the manager, you want him to tell you everything about the organization, you know, everything about the decision they have taken. It includes his intuition, his feel for the problem, and it's more of an art than a science. So in this way, you only, you know, just want to base your decision on what you have received, information you have gathered from the manager. And some of the time, this may be subjective. You know, that's one of the demerits. And another thing is qualitative analysis may be sufficient for making a decision if a manager has had experience with problems, or if the problem is relatively simple. This approach may be sufficient only when the manager has experienced that particular situation in the past. He has experience in the, oh, fine, this is what we used when I was in so-so organization. We can also apply the same thing here, and we're going to get the same result, I can tell you. But in a situation whereby the problem is new, it will be difficult for the manager to use past experience to translate it straight away like that, and then use it without to just use it without checking it. You know, the skill in the quantitative approach is inherent in the manager, and it's usually increased with experience. That skill in the qualitative approach, it is inherent in human being. The guy is carrying it all around. The manager is carrying it everywhere. That is why it is difficult or dangerous for organization to lose their key staff, their key personnel. So that is why it is important for you. If you know in an organization where you are the manager or you are the CEO, you have to ensure that you keep your best brains so that they will not run away with the knowledge they have acquired. They will not run away with the knowledge that is keeping your organization ahead of others. Now, quantitative analysis. In using quantitative approach, an analyst will concentrate on quantitative facts or data associated with the problem and develop mathematical expression. In this case, like I've said, you have to look at previous data. The supply for last year, you want to look at the demand, you want to look at the supply, you want to consider maybe the last 5-10 years to be able to project the next 1 year, to be able to think about what the demand for your organization, for your product is likely going to be, so as to be able to know what to produce. because you don't want to wait until customer will demand and they will say, we are sorry, we are out of stock. You don't want that to happen. So that's why it is also important for you to apply quantitative analysis, which is the analysis of previous data, quantitative facts that are associated with the problem, And then by using one or more quantitative techniques, the analyst will provide a recommendation based on the quantitative aspect of the problem. Now, the relevance of quantitative approach. Now, quantitative approach may be used only when the problem is complex. When the problem is complex and the manager cannot develop a good solution with the aid of quantitative analysis. It is also useful when the problem is very important. For example, when a great deal of money is involved in the business and the manager desires a thorough analysis before attempting to make a decision, before attempting to take a given alternative, on behalf of that organization. Then the problem is also new and the manager has no previous experience to draw on. When a problem is new, quantitative approach is important. You cannot rely on the intuition of the manager. Taking the risk, using the intuition of the manager alone, it's not enough. It may run that organization bankrupt. You don't want that to happen. Now, it's also relevant when the problem is repetitive and the manager saves time and effort by relying on quantitative procedures to make the routine decision recommendation. You can use iterative approach. It's repetitive, or this is what you have done last month. You can do the same again now, so this is what you have to do. Now, let's look at problem-solving processes. This is an example. Let's consider an example in Nigeria. A company wants to import a lot of iron and steel products for domestic use. Meanwhile, the country has enough resources to set up our own steel plants. The problem is to set up a steel plant that will produce steel products to substitute the importation. If you look at that, a company, an organization, they are thinking of importing iron and steel products for domestic use. But as a caveat, the country, they have enough resources to set up our own plants. Why do they want to import? But then you cannot say, don't import because you are not too sure whether those materials locally are really readily available at a cheaper rate and things like that. So this is what we have to do. Now, the problem in this situation, this environment, is that they want to set up a steel plant that will produce steel products to substitute the importation of steel products, not the materials now. Now, this is a hint here. You may wish to use named or arbitrary technologies. Raise other assumptions as you wish. These are the steps. Now, to resolve this, the first step of problem solving is to identify the problem. Now, the problem here is already defined, is to build a steel plant. Step 2 is to identify a set of possible alternatives, that may be available that we can leverage on for producing steel products. Now we have technology A, technology B, technology C, technology D. They are identified. These are the 4 available alternative technologies that could be used. And then number 3, they have to determine the criterion or criteria for evaluating the available alternatives. Now let's look at this. Step 4 now is to evaluate the alternatives. So this is the scenario. This is the scenario. Alternatives A. If an alternative A, technology A, is considered, it means the use of local raw materials will be plenty. It's going to be there. But then it's going to create 500 jobs, which is also quite impressive. We want that. We want job creation. And then the return on investment is going to be like 5 million naira. Then the potential for indigenous technology capacity, development, it's poor. We don't want that. We want to develop local capacity. So in that case, you are happy with this, with the use of local materials, yes, and then you're happy with job creation, which is also fine. You're also happy with the return on investment, which is is going to be 5 million, which is also fine enough. But then this is poor. That's a difficult situation. We don't want this to happen. So let's check alternative B. Alternative B, okay, if you go to using technology B to resolve entire problem, that means we are not going to be using local raw materials. We don't want that to happen. But then it's going to create a lot of jobs, about 4 times the previous one. This is 2,000 jobs that will be created at the end of the day. this is attractive. This is making this alternative to be attractive. But then don't forget the use of local materials will not be there. So there's no way you're going to empower, your economy. Part of this, the money, the profit you're going to get is going to be exported out of this country, because we're not going to be using local raw materials. Then if you look at this again, the return on investment is 4 million. Yes, this is fair enough because we are going to get it on the jobs that we have created here for people, for others. The profit is not just all about us, but also about job creation, about community development. Then if you look at that, potential for indigenous technological capability development is going to be excellent. This is fascinating. If you look at this is fascinating. This is also fascinating. The job creation is fascinating. Potential for IT is also fascinating, but not the use of raw materials. You don't want to do that. It's also difficult. You want to consider alternative C. That's technology C. Okay. Use of raw materials is going to be there. That's fine. Yes, we go for that. And then you're going to create about 750 jobs. It's also good. This is good, but it's not as good as we would have loved to have up to 2,000 jobs, create over 2,000 jobs. And then our ROI, it's a bit limited now, 3.5. No, this is too small. This is not huge. And then potential for ITC is also average. Apparently, if you look at this by inspection, you don't want to go with this. Now you try another alternative D, using technology D. Use of raw materials is also no. Job creation is also fair. Return on investment, it's good enough. It's good enough. And then potential for IT is also good. Now you look at this situation. What the scenario we're trying to paint here is these are difficult situations. You would know, if I were you, can you type in the comment section? Which of the alternatives would you like to go for if you were to be the manager? Would you go for alternative A, alternative technology B, technology C, or technology D? Type it in the comments box. Let me see what you're thinking. Now, if you look at this is a complex situation because at the end of the day, you find that a number of you, and don't forget, type your reason for going with a particular technology. If you are going for technology A, tell us the reason why you want to go. You prefer technology A. You just want to take a step here to use a particular technology to achieve this purpose. Is that you go for technology A, B, C, and D. Select a particular technology why you want to go for that, and give us the reason why you have chosen that alternative. So if you look at that situation, now to make a choice based on that data presented, it's difficult. When this stage is difficult because the criteria are not equally important, then arriving at the profit estimate requires some techniques which shall be discussed as we go in this course. Then suppose alternative C is chosen at this point, a decision is made. But then that does not mean that alternative C is the optimal, is the optimum alternative, So now let's quickly see this as well. Model development. What are models? Models are the simplified representation of objects, systems, or situations. They are sometimes used in preference to the real thing for reasons such as economic, to save money, to save cost, time, and other valuable commodities. When you are modeling a thing, you don't want to go to the real situation. You just want to have a kind of a prototype. You just want to experiment. By experimenting, you are not spending money on the actual money. It's not a real life. You just want to shadow, the image of the real environment. That's what we refer to as the modeling here. If you look at this, they are simplified representation of objects, systems, or situations. They are used in preference to real things. Why? Because we don't want to lose time, we don't want to lose money, and other valuable things. Now, sometimes it is to avoid risk associated with tampering with the real objects. And sometimes the real environment is so complex that a representative model is needed just to understand it. Say, for example, you want to build an airplane. You cannot buy the equipment and say, let's build a airplane. Let a live human being test the airplane. You don't want to risk the life of that human being that will test that will be the first person to fly that airplane when I'm not sure. You want to experiment with the situation. You want to simulate that on the computer before you can go on, begin to implement into the real life. That's the essence of modeling, because you want to save time, you want to save life. When the environment is hazardous, you don't want to risk the life of people. And when you want to save time as well, that's when you model. Now, there are three major classifications of models. We have the iconic model. Iconic model is concrete, is a physical representation of some real objects or situations on a different scale. A scale model of an airplane is a real representation of a real airplane. A toy truck is a true representation of a real truck, that's what we call miniaturization in computing. You want to do a smaller version of the real one. Take, for example, as well, you want to build a ship, just want to make a ship, a small one, maybe the physical one that you can touch now beyond what you made on the computer. Real prototype that you can see. That's what we call iconic, model. Another one is analog models. They are physical in form, but do not have the same physical appearance as the object being modeled, like thermometer to read or show temperature. You cannot see temperature, you cannot touch temperature, but you can only see it when you have used an equipment to measure it. So, and then also the same thing is speedometer. You cannot really see the speed. You can't measure the speed. If you're driving a vehicle or you're driving, you're flying an airplane, you can't measure the speed unless the speedometer is telling you this is the speed at which you are going. So this kind of model is referred to as analog models. We also have the last one here, the mathematical model. This represents a problem by system of symbols and mathematical relationships or expressions, just like we have in a regression equation. That one represents maybe the dependent variable and series of independent variables, especially when we are considering a case of multiple regression. Now, mathematical models are used in quantitative approach, and modeling is critical part of quantitative research. This is very important. And this is where we're going to end today. So don't forget, if you have any questions, if you have any comments, if there are other things you want us to take after now, other topics you want us to take after now, suggest them in the comment box. If you have any question, ask them in the comment box, and then I'll do as much as possible to reply you in less than 24 hours. Don't forget to like this video if you enjoyed this class. Thank you. And subscribe if you have not subscribed before. Thank you. Cheers.